have a motto and we're continuing it, and it's great because it fits in my ideology that it's family first. And that goes for not just our students and our parents, but for our faculty and staff.
The power dynamics between the families and the school has changed, and parents are much more involved. So you don't have ultimate power.
The way that I find that it works really well is communication, lots of communication. So if something happens that's not the most desirable behavior in a class, we don't ignore it. We address it immediately. We address it with the student. We address it with the parents. We address it in my office, whatever it is.
How are teachers looking at AI right now? Are they like looking at as a threat, or they looking as an ally? How is it being treated right now?
I think, and I don't want to stereotype, but some of our younger teachers are much better at using AI for positive things. And some of our older teachers are, they're getting there, but it's a little different. So right now I feel like because it's still the beginning wave, there's some skepticism about it, but it's not going away. It is not going away.
Perfect. So, hello, fellow educators and school leaders. I'm Avinash Bansal, co-founder of Tomo Club. And today on our podcast series, we have Susan Labovic, the school leader, head of school at Forest Ridge Academy. And today we're meeting to discuss about staff satisfaction and how school leaders can make it happen. It's a very interesting topic, specifically talking about teacher retention, teachers engagement, and welcome to the podcast, Susan. And if you would like to introduce yourself for our audience.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Susan Labovic, head of school at Forest Ridge Academy. We are a small independent school in the Midwest. And I've been in educating, coaching for over 30 years, probably, although this is entering my third year as head of school for Forest Ridge Academy.
Perfect. I always start my podcast with a very direct question that what got you interested to work in education in the first place, and what's keeping you still interested in it?
So, even when I was little, like I loved going to school. When my mom wanted to keep me home when I was sick, I never wanted to miss a day of school. So I know I loved school from the very beginning. But before I started to be an educator, I played softball in college, and when I finished, I coached. So at DePaul University in Chicago, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I knew that I was getting married and going to have a child, and that is a tough lifestyle because you're on the road recruiting. There's games. It's really a 365 day a year job. And I thought, what is it? Something that I actually love to do that is sustainable that I can do. And I loved working with young people and teaching, and went back and got a master's in education and started teaching. And it just even taking the classes, it didn't seem like work. It was so fun. And that really started the journey on being a teacher. But from day one, being involved in sports, being a coach, and so then I gradually in 1995, 94, phased out of collegiate coaching into elementary school teaching and coaching. And that was really my journey. And when you love something you do, it doesn't feel like work. And that's how I felt ever since I started. So I've been in Chicago public schools for a long time. I was there for 11 years. And then our school is located just over the border in Indiana, and then came here. And this school is an amazing place, so that in itself keeps you in it. But anybody that works with kids, that loves working with kids, you just wake up every day and you're happy and you love what you do. It's hard work, but it's so rewarding. It's really rewarding, even through the downs. It's just really rewarding. So I would say that's really the driving force.
So I'm glad. I think the reason that you started with is still the same reason that you're continuing. And
Yeah.
now, after talking to so many school leaders one to one over podcast, I can give you this in writing that there is a pattern among all those school leaders that they had this passion from day one as an educator, then only they could go up the ranks to become hero schools. Otherwise, I would say most of the people who have mixed feelings always remain confused about their liking and their passion. But one who is clear actually go ahead and lead the entire district or entire school. So congratulations on that. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with a very tough question that it's the top of
Uh-oh.
the town. So there is a huge problem of teacher shortage. There is no denying that it's harder every year to recruit teachers, and teachers are dropping off, and the attrition rates are insanely higher nowadays. So how do you look at this problem?
So it is a problem. We're a very unique situation in that, so when we want a job, I really have to try to, when we're looking to fill a job, really have to try to advertise LinkedIn, Indeed. But inevitably, we usually get most of our candidates word of mouth because we are a small school. Um, we, because we are small and we're an independent school, I think that sets us up for a unique culture, in that, hands down, people that walk in, whether they're doing a tour, whether they're just visiting to be a guest judge for some class competition, no matter what it is, our grandparents come in, someone interviewing for a job, we always get the feedback that it's a warm, inviting, family friendly environment. And so that for us is number one. And I can't take the credit for that. This school has been in existence for over 40 years. The former head of school worked really, really hard on that, and I actually worked under her. And we have a motto, and we're continuing it, and it's great because it fits in my ideology that it's family first.
Mm,
And that goes for not just our students and our parents, but for our faculty and staff.
mm,
And when you come to work and your goal is you feel like these kids are your family, that our parents are our extended family, we treat each other with the love and respect that it's family. It really makes coming, you don't even call it work. I laugh because I say I'm going to school. And
mm,
that in itself tells you,
mm,
it is hard work. I'm here many hours. The teachers are here long hours. But when you feel that it's your family that you're doing this, it doesn't really feel like work. So that's number one, is to really feed that feeling of family first. And that feeds into, we've had a couple of teachers, and we've never done this before, but we did it the last couple of years when I took over. Someone was expecting a child. And instead of just saying, hey, take the year off, whatever, they still wanted to work a little bit. So we did a job share. And at first it was like, you can't do that. How's that going to work? Well, we're going to make it work. So find a way to work out their benefits, work out their pay. But I think when you work with families to help make their life doable, the job, the work does not become a burden. It just becomes an extension of what they do. We've had other people that, could only work part-time. We'll figure it out. You can work 3 days a week this year. Now they're back full-time. And I think people appreciate that. If they have a doctor's appointment, we don't make a big deal. Sometimes they don't even have to get a sub. I'll go cover a class, assistant head of school will cover a class, a colleague will cover a class. And again, I think that helps in that joy. It doesn't become a burden. So that's number one. I have a lot of things, but I don't know if you want me to keep going. Oh, I can't hear you.
sorry. I think I love that. I agree. If you are going an extra mile for your educators, they have a much bigger reason to stick with the organization. But at the same time, I do think that any organization, whether it's school or whether it's corporate or anywhere, the family culture cannot be a true culture in a way, because it's like a team. So you will have to let go some people if they're not functioning fine. And in general, you don't turn your back on family, but you will have to turn your back on your employees. So I respect the family first attitude with your employees and with your teams, but at the end of the day, it has to work professionally also in that way. So how do you deal with that kind of paradox?
So I am a firm believer in we do good things happen. We make poor
Mhm.
decisions, there are consequences because
Yeah.
that's the real world. And I look at that the same way for my own children, right? And it's not necessarily turning your back on someone, but
Mhm.
it's just helping them to the next level because we have had people we've had to let go. Some people we're still in contact. We have pretty good relations with them. And the reason that we let people go, it's never, we try to obviously do it in a professional manner, but obviously someone's not going to make one mistake and you let them go. You try to help them, you try to help them grow, try to help them develop as a person professionally, personally, whatever that is. If it turns out that it's not a good fit, then we'll go help you be wonderful somewhere else, but it just won't be here. So it's not necessarily turning your back on someone, but helping them grow in a space that's not necessarily at Forest Ridge Academy. You're right. So sometimes that's tough, but I look at my job as a parent as being really tough too. I can't always tell my kids they're wonderful. And if they make a mistake, sometimes there's consequences for those mistakes.
Perfect.
Um,
I think that
so
that
that's the way.
no, I agree. I think that answer is right on the money and it makes total sense. Um, like following up on that question, I think educators, of course, I'm expecting in an independent school, they are a little better paid than in public schools. But money is one. The second is, of course, you are treating them as a family and going an extra mile for them. But teaching job in general has lost its glory. You know, like unlike in my case when I was growing up, my parents used to give free hand to an educator to do whatever they want to set me straight, and it was a very
Right.
respectful job. And the power dynamics between the families and the school has changed, and parents are much more involved. So you don't have ultimate power to exercise your control in the way you want to do it. So which has reduced the stature of a teacher in the society what it used to be. So if I look at
Good.
the teacher satisfaction metric, let's say salaries, let's say salary I'm drawing, how my colleagues are, my managers are, but then how the society is respecting it. So how has that affected and how you guys find your way in at that?
So I just want to clarify when you said about compensation private versus public, what did you say about that with compensation?
I
That it
said
was
it
more or
might
less?
more, of course.
Not. It's actually
What?
not. So that's a fallacy. And so, yes. So
Okay.
I think that's number one. Many private schools, teachers, administration, overall, make a
Mhm.
lot less than public schools. So that's a problem for us in that we're in competition because we don't pay our teachers what they're worth. And I will be quite honest with you, it's not necessarily competitive compared to a public school. Our teachers could leave and make a lot more money at the local public schools than any of the private schools in the area. What I think is a big attraction is obviously we have smaller, intimate class sizes. The fact that we are an independent school, and so we're not necessarily tied to all of the state bureaucracy, red tape, curriculum type things that other schools are tied to. We're not in school as many days. We have a lot more prep time, so teachers have a lot of time to collaborate, work on their lesson plans, be creative. Those kinds of things are very attractive. And then obviously the positive culture that we're creating here, where we're almost like uplifting, trying to be a better version of ourselves every single day. We don't have people walking in the door like, I'm here.
Mhm.
Well, it's another day. No, our teachers are pushing each other so much to the point of like in the summer, they'll get together, they're doing a book study, completely independent on their own. How can we make this work for next year? How can we apply it? Um, and all of that is a result of trying to give teachers a voice, asking them um, to be a part of the vision, to be a part of the work, to be a part of the planning. But going back to your question about students and parents, you're right, it has changed. And obviously you mentioned being in another country, but in this country, 100% people my age Absolutely. Our parents used to tell us if the teacher calls, you're in
Mm.
trouble. It doesn't matter. There's no questions asked, right? It's not that way. There was a time definitely where our teachers, not necessarily our teachers, but any teachers would call home. And it's not the kid's fault. It was the teacher's fault. So what are you doing wrong?
Mm.
And so what we try to do here at our school is number one, we know our parents chose to come to this school, right? So it's not a public school. They didn't have to come here. It's not because they lived in the neighborhood. They chose the school. They chose the school for a reason. So we try to make it very clear when our parents are enrolling, and even as long as they're here, that we do have expectations. We have academic expectations, behavior expectations, and we hold not just our teachers, our faculty and staff responsible and accountable, but we hold our students and our families responsible and accountable for their roles. And we have to, and sometimes it's hard, we have to support that. So the way that I find that it works really well is communication,
Mm.
lots of communication. So if something happens that's not the most desirable behavior in a class, we don't ignore it. We address it immediately. We address it with the student, we address it with the parents, we address it in my office, whatever it is, and not in a way where kids are scared to death or anything like that, but much in the same way that if my niece and nephew were at my house and they did something that wasn't wonderful, I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to not tell their mother or their father. I want the best for them. I want them to be able to get better. And that does not happen when we put our head in the sand or we ignore it. It happens when we address it. And I think when we communicate those things and teachers feel supported, we it makes their job a lot easier. But everyone plays a role in that. So the teachers have to document, they have to be willing to communicate. Our students have to be responsible and accountable, and then our parents. We have to work together as a team. So we can't have this one against this one over here. We want, in the end, we always keep the child first. What we're doing,
Mm.
the child is first. And so I think if you keep that in mind and it guides your decision making, your actions, whatever it is that you're doing, I think you can't go wrong. It's when we allow our feelings, our hurt feelings to enter, or the parent yelled at me, or they sent me a nasty email. Well, they're emotional. What are you going to do?
Mm.
So we try to talk to those things, but to me, it's just communication.
Makes sense. I think I'm already like halfway through in painting a picture of how does your teacher remain satisfied in the school setting. Um, but a lot depends on the leadership style of the school leader, like head of school. So I would love to know what is your leadership style? What's your philosophy behind your leadership style? Because whatever your philosophy, it will trickle down uh, to the bottom, right? So would love to know
Yeah.
how do you think your leadership style looks like?
So obviously, I have a huge background in sports and athletics, and I'm extremely competitive. And sometimes what I've learned about myself is I have to reel that in a little bit because I'm pretty outspoken and not everybody responds to that or that level of competitiveness. But for my leadership style, which I think I've sort of settled into, is obviously definitely one as a team. That's for sure.
Hmm.
Everybody has a role, everybody has to pull their weight. And we try to control the things that are within our reach. That's number one.
Hmm.
Um, we when we know what our job is, and I'm not saying we're stuck in those jobs, but we want to do our job and do it the best that we can. And we want to be the best. And so every day we look at how can we get 1% better? What is it that we're doing that we can get a little bit better at? And that goes to just answering our telephones, not just saying, "Good morning, Forest Ridge Academy." No, "Good morning, Forest Ridge Academy. This is Susan speaking. How can I help you?" Just one little bit that we can do
Yeah.
better every day. So we talk a lot about that. Collaboration. I don't pretend that I know everything. I'm the head of school. That does not mean that I know everything. I don't. When we have an issue with early childhood students' behavior, I will go to my team and say, "Listen, you're the experts in this. How should I handle this? What do I do?" Getting input. it doesn't matter if you're at a school or wherever you're at, your coworkers. I believe if people feel like they have a voice, they have input, they're part of the vision, they're invested. And that's what we do here. We try to collaborate a lot. We make sure we have a faculty meeting every week, and we do it in person so that we're face to face. So many wonderful things come out of that. The laughing, the celebrating. Somebody's having a bad day. We're supporting one another, whatever those things are. Um, it's so cliche for me to say I have an open door policy, but I'm completely open to everybody, parents, students, faculty, staff at all hours of the night, text, phone call, door is always open.
Mm,
Um, I just try to make myself available and make sure that they see me doing the things that I expect them to do also. So if we don't have a janitor for the day, somebody's gone, I will clean the toilets, I will vacuum.
mm,
We need to move furniture, I will go do that. But it's trying to model the expectations that you have um, for everybody else.
yeah. No, though that's amazing. Like if you mention all the leadership qualities, leading by example, being competitive, uh, they are really awesome. I wish always like more people have a leader like you in that way. And
Aw, thanks.
um,
I hope they all feel that way. They may, if you interview them, they may have a different story.
no, I'm pretty sure they will be. I don't think so. Any like the way you explained it passionately, it can't be made up. So I'm pretty sure they also feel the same. Um, but if you look at educator satisfaction as a center point, I think a lot of schools, public and private, they have this strategy of incentivizing their motivation, you know, whether it
Hmm.
is professional growth, whether it is conferences, offsites, or incentive structures. I would love to know, did you guys have come up with any kind of these kind of motivational hacks apart from everything that you guys already do?
I think we are limited in our resources. So if it's a situation where like someone gets a bonus or something financial like that, unfortunately not. So I'm not sure. I think that we're very heavy on and not just incentivizing, but we just try to do it every single day.
Mm,
Whatever it is that they need. We do little surprises. We have a phenomenal parent club
mm,
that works very closely with me that we'll just do surprise, like a coffee truck will show up to school,
mm,
breakfast for faculty and staff, lunches, little gift certificates on people's birthdays just to make them feel welcome. But we don't have any sort of financial packet incentives for doing a good job. But again, we have limited resources, so most private schools tuition only covers a certain part of what your budget is, and the rest is made up in fundraising. So there's a lot of pressure on independent private schools to fundraise to make your budget. But I'm not sure if that's answering your question.
I think that's exactly the answer I wanted to hear because if you look at incentive structures, they're easy to forget, they're easy to trivialize. But what you
Mhm.
just mentioned, the daily motivation, which is intrinsically coming, or these cute little small things, they actually bring in a much bigger change, in my opinion, than
Mhm.
dumb conferences and you go and have some, and you get sloshed in those conferences and after parties. So I think
Yeah,
I was blown when you said that those teachers meet independently without school intervention in summer breaks and do things together. That's is a reflective of the culture over above everything.
it is. It really is. I mean, even during the school that year, there was a book about student behavior, but not just about student behavior, but about teachers being able to handle different types of behavior. And one of our teachers said, "Hey, this is a book I'd like to read. Is anyone interested?"
Mm,
And there were probably 8 to 10 of us that did it. So, obviously some admin were included in it, but they ran it. We just showed up. We'd all read the chapter, we'd discuss it. Everybody took a turn bringing stuff for breakfast. We're talking people are showing up at 7:15 in the morning
Hmm.
before school day starts.
Wow.
And so it's just, and there was no money for that. There was no, it just was them getting together and, camaraderie and building relationships. One of the things that I think helps with that, because, you had mentioned teaching, changing, the profession has changed, the
Yeah.
demands have changed on the time and what we want of teachers and test scores and all those things. So one of the things, because I was a teacher myself for almost 30 years, is that trying to figure out what would I have appreciated.
Hmm.
So, for example, we started a couple of new testing systems, one of them required by the state, one of them we opted in on our own, and we had to do professional development. Instead of saying you're going to come early, you're coming on a Saturday, I arranged to have substitute teachers for every single person. And
Hmm.
we did the 2 hour training during the middle of the day.
Hmm.
Because I would have appreciated that. It would have become a burden to say, I need you to stay after school till 5, 6 o'clock.
Hmm.
What can we do to alleviate some of that burden on them? The other thing is that we're very, very big on professional development because and not what we force on teachers. We'll gently suggest some things, but mostly what do they want to do? And professional development, my experience has been, and with the feedback I get from other faculty, is that you come back renewed, you come back energized. It gives you new ideas, but it can also confirm that what you're doing is the right thing. And our school and our school board is extremely supportive of that. So there was just a huge conference in Dallas, Texas. We took 16 people to it, which is a big chunk of change.
Hmm.
But it was an invaluable experience because not just what everybody bought back professionally, but the team bonding that was done, the experiences, and the fact that everybody got to blow off some steam
Plus.
in a really nice place, while you're doing it. So
And yeah.
those kinds of things are just they're the extras, but it makes a big difference in the way people feel about what they do.
No, absolutely. Um, so we did talk about teacher satisfaction from one side of the coin. Now let's flip it over and talk about what are the major reason of dissatisfaction that you usually encounter.
Of dissatisfaction,
Yeah.
I would think that dissatisfaction, and this is in no particular order,
Us.
um, student behavior can get really frustrating. Sometimes overzealous parents can be disheartening and make teachers feel like you just pulled all the air out of the balloon.
Yeah.
I would think just piling requirements on educators is really frustrating.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm just thinking back even to, my experience, and not being supported. That's a huge one. If you come and there's a problem, and you don't feel supported, you don't feel heard, that's a big one, a really big one. Being talked at, being talked down to is a big one.
Hmm.
I think in any line of work, and even if you're on a team, I think about a team. You want to feel respected, you want to feel heard, and you want to feel like you're contributing positive, constructive work and energy to whatever it is that you're trying to do. And all of those things, I think, really contribute to the demise of the morale of teachers.
Right. Absolutely. I think those are the points. Most of those points are very relevant across the industry, like you said. But of course,
Mhm.
I think that the student behavior and parent engagement can be sometimes, get on your nerves for sure. Um, okay, I have this very interesting question. How are teachers looking at AI right now? Are they like looking at as a threat or they
Oh,
looking as an ally? How is it being treated right now?
so good. That's such a great question. I th- it depends, right? So, especially in schools where technology is one to one, you have to be really careful. Kids are way smarter than us. They
Hmm.
find ways around things, even firewalls and any of that. So we have had some incidents of plagiarism and students using AI for not great things, but I think, and I don't want to stereotype, but some of our younger teachers are much better at using AI for positive things. And some of our older teachers are, they're getting there, but it's a little different. So right now, I feel like because it's still the beginning wave, there there are some there's some skepticism about it, but it's not going away.
Yeah.
It is not going away.
Mhm.
So it's how do we adapt to this new normal and how do we use it in a constructive way? Because every day I'm using it every single day. And I think that the more teachers start to feel comfortable with using it, they'll find ways to allow their students to be able to use it. I did, Khan Academy had a program on AI because they have their Khan Amigo branch. And it was really interesting because before I listened to it, I was really down on AI. And
Mhm.
I was listening to this and it was so good, even from the point of view of using AI to help kids be creative and tell a story, to write a story. You're
Mhm.
basically going back and forth with the AI. This is what happened. What should happen next? What do you think happened next? And it's really kind of scary, but
Yeah.
it's almost like you're having this conversation with someone. But yeah, I think that it's like anything new, even though it's not really, really new, but it's newer. Everyone's a little bit skeptical, but it's going to take some more, oh gosh, I guess training, use, familiarity for people to start to become really comfortable with the fact that it's here.
Absolutely. I think that's the way to go for sure. Okay. What if, okay, let me frame that question nicely. What would be an AI tool that you want to solve your biggest problem? Uh, so, which is not
Oh,
solved yet. So, what would be the biggest problem that you have that you want an AI tool for?
for me, it would be scheduling. I know that sounds crazy, but like, you can get like different programs for scheduling, but it doesn't necessarily take into account our super unique situation.
Mhm.
So I don't know, and maybe it's out there and I just don't know about it. It could
That's
be there and I
possible.
don't know about it. But creating a schedule for our really unique situation, and when I say that, it's because we do a step up math program with the entire school. So at 11 o'clock,
Hmm.
everybody's doing step up. But then I have my middle school who's doing step up math all throughout the day.
Hmm.
And it's and we have wonderful programming here like wood shop and art and computer classes and music and sign language and Spanish, and how to fit all of those things in. Scheduling is a nightmare here. So that's what I would love.
No, absolutely. I think I don't think so. It's solved yet properly, especially on the
Mhm.
personalization point of view. And I think that is the major power that AI can bring along is actually able to understand the context to it. And because most solutions, especially tech solutions, are even if they try to accommodate a lot of different type of problem statements, but they're still one fit for all kind of ideology. So I think this is the first time a technology can be very flexible, very fluidic to solve a unique problem. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there must be a solution, or otherwise, I'll help you find one.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed.
perfect. No, this I think this discussion has been very effective in terms of understanding the overall teacher's motivation and teacher satisfaction. Anything that you want to add that I may not have asked?
I'm trying to think. I don't
Any?
know. I mean, I'm sure once we're done, I'll come up with something, but and I realize that our school is in a unique situation because we're not a public school. There's certain policies and things that other principals or superintendents probably have to follow and accommodate that allows me the wiggle room to be able to do what I do and pivot in the way that I do. I would like to add if there's any private schools that have boards. One of the things that really contributes to the success of our school is we have an absolutely phenomenal board of people that are involved and invested in the school and are really have the best interests of the school and have a great, great working relationship with me as head of school. So that if you don't have that, you're
Hmm.
going to not have a very good school. So we're very fortunate to have that.
No, absolutely. I think in this tough line of work, you can't afford to have people who are pulling you back, because otherwise it's a tough life. It's gonna get tougher if people are not supportive around you, especially the board, if they try to be,
Yeah.
intervening with every little decision. So I'm glad you have a good board, and I wish everyone do have good boards as well. But yeah, this was very, very informative, Susan. I think a lot of people are gonna get a lot of benefit listening to your stories today. And yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's very nice. Thank you.
Perfect. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you for watching. Join our journey at Tomo Club